Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Are you ready to jump in and discover how these challenges aren't actually in the way, but are the way to finding harmony? Let's invite the magic back in. What if the real practice of yoga begins the moment you stop relating to it as an exercise program and start relating to it as language? Have you ever thought about that? The language of breath, the language of attention, the language of devotion, the language that has been carried through sound and memory for thousands of years. If you've thought at all about the language of yoga, then you will love today's episode, because today, Russell and I are joined by Zoë Slatoff, who is a very dear old friend of mine. She is also a Sanskrit scholar, longtime Ashtanga practitioner and teacher, and author of a beautiful book all about Sanskrit grammar called Yogavataranam. I'll say that again. Yogavataranam. I think I'm saying it right. Not sure. It translates as the translation of yoga. And as someone who has dedicated all of her adult years to bridging the worlds of traditional Sanskrit learning, yoga philosophy, Ashtanga yoga practice, and embodying it in her life, this conversation has many, many layers that I'm sure you will be able to connect with. We are talking not only about the old school days in Mysore, which I know if you're here listening to this episode, you probably love these conversations about the evolution of practice over time. But more importantly, we're also talking about the power of Sanskrit, and also about Zoe's own academic pursuit and what inspired her to follow a more academic path rather than just continue her adult life teaching asana. And so I hope that you derive a lot of not only joy from listening to the gossip and the stories, but also learn something beautiful about the Sanskrit language and South Asian philosophy and all of the work and study and learning that goes into bringing these teachings to life. Before we get started, if you want to bring yourself to life in a new way and also experience the embodied teachings of yoga, then I would encourage you to seek me out in Lisbon at the end of June and in Faro, Portugal in the beginning of July. It's going to be a very powerful time of transformation. Come vacation with me in Portugal at the beginning of this summer. I would love to connect with you and see you, and you can find all the details in the show notes. Let's jump in now to learn with Zoë Slatoff.
Hi, welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. This is your host, Harmony Slater, and your co-host, Russell Case. Harmony, so glad to see you today. Who do you have on the show today?
Thanks for the intro.
You're welcome.
I have a very dear friend of mine. I'm not going to say
our friend.
Old.
She's our friend, not just your friend.
Yes, I'm not going to say old because she's still very young.
Always the youngest person in our community.
Yes, well, that's actually how we kind of bonded, besides almost having the same last name.
That's right. We were all the young ones.
Yes. Hello, Zoë Slatoff. How are you, my dear?
You actually know how to pronounce my last name.
It's just like my name, but it's Slatoff instead of Slater.
How
So it's always easy to remember.
How do you have any? You've got some Yiddish left, right? So you've got some Yiddish.
I mean, in my genetics, it was originally Slatopolsky.
Oh yeah, but you're not like, you don't have like an immediate grasp of the zaftig balabusta that I have. You don't, like, it's not on immediate recall.
Probably not.
Oh dear.
I saw Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish on Broadway twice.
Well, this interview is kafakta already. Okay.
I
bet you she could talk Sanskrit to us instead of Yiddish.
Way to transition.
That would be better.
Our guest today is author of Yogavataranam, the translation of yoga, a new approach to Sanskrit. I'm sorry, we didn't have you on the podcast when this book came out, but it's I don't
think you had the podcast.
Probably not.
Probably more accurate. But we should have. But it is going to be, it's nearing a new edition. And you also have a dissertation and another work on the way. And we thought, we just saw you in LA. We were at the Yoga Gives Back fundraiser
Gala in November.
And we saw you. And we're like, that's Zoe in line to get sushi. We should have her on the podcast. Amazing.
Well, more surprising was that you were living in LA and not New York.
I had no idea.
I know. It's still surprising to me. I identify as a New Yorker. I am just, I am here.
Yeah.
So Harmony likes to keep these things quick, but just very quickly, can you tell us about how your grandparents led to your parents and how you then kind of got into your thing with yoga, or just kind of make it like in a couple sentences?
Let's see. My grandfather, whose name was Slatoff, Walter Slatoff, he was an English professor at Cornell. I grew up spending a lot of time in Ithaca. And my parents actually both grew up in Ithaca and knew each other as kids.
Oh, wow.
My dad was best friends with my mom's older brother.
Cool.
And then later they got together and had me and then got divorced.
How young were you?
3.
Oh, that's rough.
So, yeah, I was too young to know,
Yeah.
Did you grow up in New York then?
I did. I grew up in Brooklyn.
Which part?
Kings Highway, which most people don't know. Do you know it?
No.
It's out. I don't think so. It's out near Sheepshead Bay, like Coney Island.
I went to school at Brooklyn College in Flatbush.
Oh, yes. I know Brooklyn College. I used to take an art class there as a kid.
So I took an art class. I took many art classes there. Yeah.
You clearly have done more with it than I did.
I got my master's in painting there. And, I did do some paintings. But like famously, Allen Ginsberg was on the floor below us. And I was devastated that I never actually just like bumped into him. So
that is sad.
Yeah, it is.
You should have. Intentionally.
I would have walked along that floor every day.
But we're part of that celebrated Jewish subculture of Michigan. And Allen Ginsberg bounced my brother on his knee when he was a baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
You weren't born yet.
That's great.
No, he's my older brother, Harmony.
That's too bad.
So you moved to Brooklyn. You grew up there.
I did grow up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you have things that you liked to do as a kid, like Sanskrit?
Not quite yet, but I like to read.
Okay.
I was just talking about somebody. I like to sort of like sit in the closet and read.
I'm also in the closet. That's cool. Okay.
And like Tolstoy.
Yeah.
And, things like that. I did study Hebrew as a kid. And when I was in college the first time around, Japanese. And I always liked languages with different alphabets.
Yeah. Wow.
And then how did you start doing yoga? Because you started very young. You went to Mysore very, very young for the first time as well.
Yes, like you.
Yeah.
Well, somebody gave my mom a videotape. My mom was just visiting and we were talking about this. Rodney Yee on the beach. Yeah. And you know this one?
I know that one.
I don't know the story.
I know the video though.
And I did it every morning, but I was at like 5 a.m. It just seemed like a really good idea.
Yeah.
And, lots of the other things in my life at that time were a bad idea, but that was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with some of those stories.
Yeah, I've known you guys a long time.
Yeah. We have been indiscreet with each other, Zoe.
So, anyway,
back to Rodney Yee.
Back to Rodney Yee, the pinnacle of indiscretion.
And it's funny. I just learned a fact about it that I forgot. My mom said when I moved out, I actually left her the videotape with a note saying, "You should try this."
Oh.
And did she?
So she did.
Excellent.
Yeah, both my parents do yoga since I do. Since I have. And anyway, so when I was 17, I moved to the East Village to study engineering at Cooper Union.
You got into Cooper Union? Fudge! Oh, man. I can't even begin to tell you how jealous I am. I applied in 1992 to go to Cooper Union, and I was devastated that I didn't get in. I went to school of the Art Institute of Chicago instead, but Cooper Union was my number one school. Wow.
Yeah.
For engineering? You're a fucking genius. Yeah. What? How did you get in for engineering?
She's really, really smart.
God damn it. And you studied Japanese, of course.
Well, everything was all math and science. It was like, I got to do something else. Let's try Japanese.
They had an art program that was magnificent. So
I know. Most of my friends there, honestly, were artists. The art program, I think, was really, really great.
Yeah.
The engineering program was great, too. But about 2 years in, I was like, they asked me what kind of engineer I wanted to be. I was like, what do you mean? I don't want to be an engineer. Whoops.
You're like,
whoops. Why do you want to do that?
Oh, my Lord. Can I just ask one follow-up question here? Or back up, maybe. How does the child of a single mom in basically Long Island make it to Cooper Union on a which is a free full ride school? How does that happen? Like, who took care of you?
I went to Stuyvesant.
Okay.
And I went to all the best.
And your grandfather was a professor at
Cornell, yeah.
Okay, so there was
my other grandfather was an MD, PhD, and my parents are very smart.
Yeah.
They do very different things. My mom went to law school when I was 3, and
did she
became a legal aid lawyer, and then she's a judge.
I'm sorry.
My dad worked with computers for many years.
She's a judge?
She's a judge. Yeah. A housing court judge.
Well, forgive me, but like that's still a judge.
That's amazing. That's that's such a big life choice when you've just had a divorce and you're a single parent. And
well, the judge thing has come in recent years.
But to go back to school and to go to law school and build a career, that's incredible.
You can qualify it however you want, but she's still a judge.
Yeah, my mom's awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
And your dad's like,
and my dad was,
you said,
but he's really a jazz musician. And so when I got into Cooper Union, basically, and it was free, he went back to being a jazz musician.
Amazing.
Wow.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay. So you're there, you've realized I don't want to be an engineer.
And then what did you decide to do then?
So when I moved to the East Village, instead of doing that videotape, which I left with my mom that I just learned, I started taking yoga classes and
where?
Kind of everywhere. There weren't very many places at that time. Mm-hmm. So, I started at a gym and then kind of went to places, mainly Om yoga at first.
They were
with
big.
Cindy Lee, which she had just opened then. So I was taking classes for a while, and I did her first training actually with Paul Dallahan.
I was going to say, I'm sure you knew Paul because that's right around the same time.
Paul the bartender.
We did that together.
Yeah.
And I kind of just did it for fun. I was 18. Yeah. And then people kept asking me to 98.
Okay, yeah. That was 2 years before I moved there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I started taking classes and people kept asking me to teach classes. I didn't want to teach, but I did not want to teach. It just, it wasn't what I was planning on doing. And people kept asking me, and all of a sudden I was teaching 16 classes a week. This was so at the time I quit Cooper Union, that was...
You quit Cooper Union?
Well, she didn't...
I did, I'm sorry.
What the
She didn't want to be an engineer.
Yeah, but you could do...
No, you can't.
No.
That's the thing.
You can only do engineering?
Yes, and that was the problem. If they'd let me do math or chemistry or physics or anything else, I would have done that. But I just...
Did those departments exist? Or there just was nothing but engineering?
No, so your third year, it was like, okay, do you want to be a mechanical, electrical, civil, or what's the other one?
We'll go for civil engineering because then you can work with the populace, I guess. I don't know. Like you can design people, human design. Can I do that?
Human design.
Not back then. Anyway, I sadly gave up my scholarship. I know.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Meanwhile, I was doing a lot of yoga, teaching a lot of yoga. A friend took me to a Mysore class, and I'd already also had Richard Freeman's primary series. And I have good memory, and I was young and flexible and stuff. So I just kind of like did it and memorized it.
Yeah.
So I walked into the Mysore class and just did it.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this once. Did we both go to Russell Kai's class at Jivamukti?
I did. This was not the first one, but I did go to Russell's class. This was Guy.
Oh, you went to Guy's class first?
It was my first. It was a Saturday morning.
Wow. But in 99, I went to Russell's because I was visiting to check out the school. Yeah.
I did also do that. I went to Jivamukti for a while. He was at Jivamukti, right?
And he was in the same kind of airspace as Christopher Hildebrandt, and they had a curtain up to separate their Mysore classes, which is absurd.
They taught at the same time?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
I remember that
different groups. People have paid for different teachers, but they want the same time.
New Yorkers are so specific. I mean, you must have gone and attended a tour or something, like with Pattabhi Joyce and the family.
So that was what happened, was I, and I was, again, young and flexible, so I kind of just learned intermediate very quickly. And when Pattabhi Joyce came, I guess this was fall 2000, I went and did a month of lead intermediate at the Puck Building, and that was fun.
They really got to know you then. That's amazing.
It was amazing, yeah. Were you there?
2000? No, I had just arrived, and I just had no idea how to get there. I'd been told about it. Like somebody, David Swenson had told somebody back in Texas, it's like, oh, you should go see Pattabhi Joyce. He's there in town. It's like, how?
That's funny. Yeah, different worlds.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of a month, Pattabhi Joyce said to me, come to Mysore. And I said, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we all did.
And then did you go the next few months later, the next year?
Yeah, December 2000. Yeah. I went 2 months later.
But how does one do that?
She was a young girl with no responsibilities teaching 16 classes a week in New York City.
With $5,000 in her back pocket?
Yeah, you make some money back then.
You had
I did. I mean, I taught these 16 classes a week, and you didn't need $5,000 at that point.
True.
I remember my first plane ticket, I think, was $1,200.
Okay.
And I stayed at Post Office House, which was $50 a month.
Okay.
So
we're up to $1,350.
Yeah, the most expensive thing was the tuition.
Classes are $400 at that time?
I think it was cheaper.
Yeah.
I think it was
$300. So we're now at $2,300, $1,550. Okay, go ahead.
She was there for 5 months.
But I
5 months. That's $2,000 right there.
Yeah, but still, it's only $2,000.
So I'll tell you, the real secret was I rented my apartment out while I was gone.
You sneaky. I took out a student loan.
Did you really?
I did. It was like, they're just giving money away. It was like, okay, fine.
What? To go to Mysore?
I used it to pay Guy. And then I found in my university, I found a closet that no one was living in. So I slept in that. And I used that money that I had been paying on rent to go to India.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What year did you first go?
2003. So for those listening at home, there's a massive divide in status now established between Zoe and I. Because one, she went to Lakshmi Puram in the old days. And Harmony and I went only to Gokulam in the new paradigm. And so that puts Zoe at top of the monument of status. And we're here lower at the, if you imagine a pyramid, there's all of you who are listening, who are the base of the pyramid. We're one step above that. And Zoe right there below the top. That's the math that we do in our head because we're still so fucked up about it. Am I wrong?
No.
No?
I mean, you're
No?
kind of exaggerating a little bit. Yeah.
What part?
Because, well, you only do that if you're still traumatized by things.
We are still traumatized.
No, speak for yourself. I've done my work around it.
You haven't. You have not done the work.
Yeah.
You've done some work.
But I think we met on your second trip, right? In 2004.
We met on my second trip. Yeah, it was right when there was that shift because the first time was in Lakshmi Puram, which I did love and I feel very grateful for. And there were 12 people in the room and that was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, my second trip, we were in Lakshmi Puram and I was there for the transition maybe.
Yeah.
I think you were staying in the Kaveri Hotel because
It
that's
was
where everyone went to stay at the beginning. And then I remember because you were moving to a new apartment in Gokulam and then you got in that big accident.
Yes. Yeah. No, I got into this horrible rickshaw accident. And
that was also my second trip.
I think you came much later. You weren't there at the same time.
Not as Zoe, but as you.
You came after she already had left.
But you and I made eye contact.
I don't know.
In the foyer, I remember.
Okay. This is not even on topic, so let's just move on.
We're under the coconut stand right now. We're just having a chat, guys. We're just talking about old times. What we really wanted to get to was your dissertation, which you had mentioned was maybe, I'm not sure if I misunderstood you, but maybe inspired by conversations that you had with Sri K. Pattabhi Jois about a section of Vedanta. And I wonder if you could talk about that at all, or is it too premature in this
journey you had
with Pattabhi Jois?
I'll give a little lead up to that. Okay. But yeah, so the other cool thing about being in Lakshmi Puram, just to play into your thing about what you missed. Yes. Sorry, trauma triggering. It's Pattabhi Jois had conference every single day.
Yeah. That's
and he'd just sit there and like talk about stuff. And sometimes he'd just read the newspaper or mail. But like that was when I got into Sanskrit, was my first trip. And so I would hear him quote texts and I really wanted to understand what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So I would say my Sanskrit journey, which led to my book that you held up, and thank you. Your copy is so nice and shiny.
Did you start with Jayashree?
I started with, I'm forgetting his name. It's coming to me. Lakshmish's teacher. I was roommates with James, and James had
Vinayaka. James the fireman.
James the fireman.
He's a hero.
He's a fireman.
Yeah.
Yes, he is a hero. Anyway, he also was one of the reasons I got into Sanskrit. And Vinayaka used to come to his room and a few people came. And I think Lakshmish would come, when he was very young as a student. And that was my first introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Wow.
So you started studying Sanskrit and then you went back to New York, still taught like tons of yoga.
Taught tons of yoga, went back and forth to Mysore, did Sanskrit in Mysore, Sanskrit on my own, eventually went back to school at Columbia and did more,
And that's when you did like your degree in, what was your first degree in?
Asian languages and culture. So they actually let me finish my undergrad and like get credit for my engineering stuff. And then I started a PhD program there. I ended up quitting after the master's.
Yeah.
It's a long story, but short story is that I had a yogashala in New York for many years and somewhere in there went back to school to do my PhD at Lancaster in the UK as a distance program. But so the thing that happened was while I had my yogashala, I started writing my Sanskrit textbook kind of just as like notes to teach from. And then it turned into a book.
There's so many things in the book that are based on like yogic texts, which is quite different than, because I took Sanskrit in university too at a bachelor's level. And so some of the texts would be like, I mean, it would be really random stuff, but like sometimes there was like the Ramayana or some spiritual text, but it might be poetry or it might be different things. And this is all very yogic based, which is kind of unique, I think, when it comes to learning Sanskrit.
That's why I wrote it. I was like, yoga people want to learn Sanskrit, I like, and they want to read
yoga texts.
The Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Sutra and the Hatha Pradipika. And so, it's kind of all of those texts. And I teach from it now. I teach in this yoga studies MA program, which I can tell you about afterwards.
That's really hot. You go into a class and you study Sanskrit, and the teacher puts their text, and this is the required reading. And it's like, oh, okay. You seem too young for that. All right.
Do you get a lot of like yoga people coming to your Sanskrit class? Like, I'm curious who takes Sanskrit now.
So yeah, I teach in this yoga studies MA program at Loyola Marymount University here in Los Angeles, which is a big part of the reason why I'm here in LA. And it's an incredible program. There's not much like it. I'm associate director this year. I will be director next year. So if anybody's interested, feel free to email me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But my main thing is that I'm the Sanskrit professor. And so it's masters. So it's students who are getting a master's in yoga studies. And so they have to take Sanskrit.
No kidding. So like they would come in with a bachelor's degree in like religious studies or philosophy.
No,
or
anything.
Anything.
Honestly,
anything.
Engineering.
It's
one of the yes. It's one of the things I really like about our program, honestly, is it's people of all ages with all backgrounds. So people bring, whatever their previous experience is.
Cool.
Yeah, lots of different people, and everybody has to take a year. Some people take a bit more than that.
And then do like a master's dissertation.
Yeah, they do. I supervise those too.
And I ask you, from our limited experience working with Jayashri and studying Sanskrit with Kiki.
Kimberly Flynn.
Kimberly Flynn, yeah, thank you. With Kimberly, was it just seemed that the Shruti Parampara was so much about the auditory experience of listening and repetition. Is that at all a part of the students' experience at Loyola with you?
Yeah, it's one of the things, I chant with them all the time. I chant every verse and everything. I feel like you don't normally get that in university.
No, you don't.
But that's sort of, and I made an audio for my whole book, which is on my website.
Wow.
And I also teach online Sanskrit classes through the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies. I meant to give you that link too. I should do that.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to dip their toes
in the show notes.
But yeah, lots of people. I mean, I've been amazed. I've taught like many, many hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And how do they take to it? And that's a big ask, to learn how to use your tongue, and never having thought about using your tongue before. These are serious questions, and so like you've never having thought about using your tongue before while speaking, unless you're like a ventriloquist or an impersonator
or a linguist.
Like Frank Caliendo, the great impersonator, like his understanding of where he speaks in his mouth and body is extraordinary. But like you really have to learn how to do that to speak this language. How do they respond to that? Do they just have to sit there and try, or do you correct?
One of the things about our program is that it's hybrid. And so some students are in person, but we have students all over the country and even all over the world. Oh. And so everybody starts with a 2-week intensive here. I teach them the alphabet during that time, and I really try to work with them during that time. And I definitely work on pronunciation at other times, but Zoom has its limitations. And so when we chant, I have to mute everybody. So
you can't hear how they sound. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have them read out, we sort of take turns reading out loud, going over verses also, but
so intimidating. Oh my God.
I was sitting in a class with Jayashri that she was teaching online a couple of years ago, and she was teaching Yoga Sutras. And so I thought, this will be fun. I'll just like sit in and like listen to Jayashri teach on Yoga Sutras and do some chanting, and it's exactly like it was in her little room. Exactly.
Love it.
100% the same. But of course it's on Zoom. And so she would chant a verse and she'd make everyone unmute and chant the verse.
Like
one by one. And you know how like specific she is. She just like would not be satisfied until everyone got a chance to chant.
I can imagine that, totally.
One of my favorite stories about her is she told me the story that she said that she was, I don't remember where it was, whether it was a wedding, a funeral, or a function. And she said Pattabhi Jois was there, and she was chanting, and 3 times he stopped her in the middle to correct her pronunciation. And each time it was correct. Like, she was not, like, it was not a joke. Like, it was, it needed to be corrected.
I believe that.
Was
Yeah.
I don't know if it needed to be corrected.
Just like you don't need me on the podcast. I just never thought of him that way. I knew that, he was like a nice old guy, and he would read Vedanta, and he would, adjust really badly. And I just thought he was really cute, but I never thought of him as someone with expertise. And that really shocked me.
He was amazing. He was my yoga teacher first, but the Sanskrit was really what stuck with me. And he really embodied that. And I, especially as I learned more and more, I would start to understand what he was talking about. And so to get back to your question before, he used to often quote this one text, the Aparakshanabhuti. And it's a text that's attributed to Shankaracharya, who lived in the 8th century, but was probably actually lived in the 15th, 16th century, as they do.
Interesting.
It's a really interesting text because it brings together yoga with Advaita Vedanta. And it is the subject of my PhD dissertation, and which will soon be a book next year, probably. But it's in process. And it's, I love the text. I think the text is beautiful. It's funny. It makes fun of people for like looking at the tip of their nose and stuff like that.
Really?
But it also tells the story of modern yoga.
How so? Say more about that.
Tell us your dissertation.
In a nutshell, in the Yoga Sutras, the aim of yoga is the separation of Purusha, which is the self, from Prakriti, which is material nature, like everything else. Mm-hmm. And it's actually, I feel like most people don't know this, but it's about separation. It's not about union or oneness. Whereas these days, if you ask people what yoga means, they'll say, oh, union. Mm-hmm. And so I sort of feel like my dissertation, and soon to be book, it's sort of the story of how yoga went from meaning 2 to meaning 1. So like how it came from being about this separation to being about union. And my argument is that it's through the influence of Advaita Vedanta, and this text kind of combines the two.
Okay, so I'm totally confused. So how is it not union, and how is it separation? Can you tell us what you mean by that?
So traditionally, it's a process of like, I am not this, I am not that. So I mean, it's easy for me to say, I'm not my computer, I'm not my, my whatever. But then to say like, oh, I'm not my ego, I'm not my body, I'm not my intellect.
I'm not my
I'm not things. Well, certainly not that. But
but it was me, but now it's not me. But it was never me.
Right. Yes, that's a good example, actually.
Thank you very much.
I like it.
I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my
all of it.
But it's something that Goenkaji would use as an example that I thought was really clever. He would talk about, oh, you like your wife's hair, but not when it's in your soup the next day. And you complain about your wife's hair in the soup. It's like, but you liked my hair last night. It's like, yeah, but there's now separation between what is you and what is not you, and what was ever you in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas these days we tend, the sort of other philosophy is that I am everything,
Mm-hmm. I am this, I am that.
I am you. I am the universe. I am the wall. I am like, and that's more appealing, right? It's much more appealing to think like, oh, I'm one with everything, than to think, no, I'm isolated and separate from everything.
Well, what do you agree with one position over the other?
I mean, honestly, I think they're probably describing the same thing, just in different ways. Mm-hmm. And, in Sanskrit texts, they love to sort of describe things in great detail and argue different positions. Mm-hmm. And, so I think there's a way to kind of bring them together. And again, that's kind of what this text does. It sort of says like, okay, dualism makes sense up until a point. And then at the end, it sort of collapses into one. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes sense, right? I think the 1880 kind of approach is useful, right? We so identify. I mean, I teach this undergrad traditions of yoga class, which is one of my favorite things. And we do some meditation, and it's for many of them the first time one of the first times they've like sat with themselves. And the first thing is like, oh, my mind's really busy. And like, like, but over time it's sort of like, oh, wait, that's not me. And oh, I could catch my thought, or, just sort of have that sense of separation rather than identification, like, oh, my body hurts, but like, I'm okay. Or, those thoughts are there, but they're going to pass. So I think, in the sort of practice sense, dualism is really useful.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, to think about how to make meditation easier is like, I'm none of these things. But how to make meditation attractive is I am all these things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like it's sort of like a similar thing, because I've studied a lot of Buddhism, and Buddhism and early yoga, I think, are very much aligned.
Yes.
And that state of emptiness, shunyata, I think is very similar to Kaivalya, right? That aloneness, that separation. There's only one thing and it's alone. Because if there's only one thing, guess what? You're alone.
And in Buddhism, it's like nothing.
Right.
There isn't even one thing.
Yeah, just empty. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, if the ultimate state is empty, I mean, you won't even know if you're there unless you're aware. So, which I guess is the great argument of Shankaracharya, right? That, well, how do you know anything?
Right. Something's got to be there.
Yeah. If it's all empty, how do you know it's empty?
Right.
Right. Something has to be present or aware in some capacity of consciousness or pure consciousness.
And that also kind of links into like maybe why they decided to place Shankaracharya in the 8th century, where he can have a place in exterminating Buddhism from India. Like, that's when he was really active exterminating Buddhism.
I mean, I think, these traditions kind of rose up in response to each other. So yeah, like Shankaracharya in the 8th century, like he was definitely responding to Buddhism among other things. And there were constantly this sort of pushback of people like arguing against each other and, sort of establishing their positions in that way. I mean, I think my text, the Aparikshanabhuti, I call it mine because I've spent a lot of time with it.
You wrote it. I mean, let's be honest.
That's the secret, yes.
She loved it after you presented it to her. Like, this is great, Zoe. You do it.
You're not supposed to claim authorship in these traditions.
No, you discovered it.
Maybe it was your past self.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean,
that's fantastic.
But
good for you.
But anyway, the reason I think it was written in the 15th, 16th century is that, what I was saying about it, sort of talking about people, like making fun of people looking at the tip of their nose and things like that. It really sort of rose up in response to Hatha Yoga. So that's kind of how I date it, is like, what was it responding to? And it seemed clearly,
Right. So even though it's attributed to Sri Shankaracharya, it was probably written by someone else, as they do in India.
And they're responding to this nefarious spread of Tantra. And like
or Hatha Yoga, like doing all these postures, it sounds like, or different practices to
Tantra.
It grows out of Tantra, But more these sort of physical practices. And, what the Aparikshanabhuti does is it redefines everything in terms of Brahman. And so it's like, yama, like yama, niyama, right? Like all of those things, ahimsa, nonviolence, and so forth. Like, it's all about Brahman. Asana, it's all about Brahman. Pranayama, and then it adds these other ones, Mula Bandha. It's all about Brahman. Sharat used to quote those too. It's like definitely, and then sort of like, oh yeah, that's what Mula Bandha is.
Is it the text that says Mula Bandha is fixing the mind at the root?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm sure you know it. I feel like,
It's been said.
It's a beautiful quote. I'm not quoting it as beautiful as it's actually written, but something like
I got the gist. Yeah.
Our mutual friend Andrew Hillam, he sent me this. Maybe it was on Instagram. The video of his son Narayana was in the back seat as a 3-year-old, and he had clearly just reached enlightenment. And he was his mind was exploding. And he said, Dad, everything is Brahma. everything. Everything is Brahma. And this 3-year-old was like fucking, mine was fucking totally blown up. And I was like, holy shit. Okay. Special kid.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Wish my kid would reach enlightenment. That'd be great.
I think all kids are there to a certain extent.
It just gets harder and harder
when Jediah reached enlightenment as a 3-year-old? That's cool.
Yeah. I do. Many times.
Right? It's all one. Then you get older and it all gets more separate.
Yeah, because you're not identified with things when you're young.
Yeah.
And then you develop your identity, and the more you're identified with things, the more you're separate from reality.
That's what the psychedelics are for.
Yeah, sorry.
How many kids do you have, Zoe?
I have book babies.
Book babies, exactly.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited for your dissertation turning into a book. That's awesome. It's such a lovely topic, and it blew my mind. And that was really cool, and I feel really geeked out that you shared it with us. That's really cool.
Thank you. I'm excited to, you write a PhD dissertation and like maybe 5 people read it, and you spend I've been working on this pretty much since my other book came out. So like over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
What do you think the biggest insight is, or the biggest sort of realization or understanding that you sort of uncovered from 10 years of work on this text?
It's something that I understood from Pattabhi Jois, that on the one hand, the Yoga Sutras are dualistic and we start at, but the opening mantra, right? It's like 2 chants put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first part is from the Yogavataranam, which is also attributed to Shankara, I think, also Advaitic. And then the second half is sort of a more, dualistic verse to Patanjali.
Yeah.
And so I think it's sort of realizing that actually this practice that, we've been doing forever is this sort of mix of these two. And Pattabhi Jois was an Advaitin. And the first time I went to Mysore, he built this temple to Shankaracharya in his home village of Kaushika. I think Paul Dallahan was there also.
Yes.
And we also went to Mysore around the same time.
Yeah.
And
now you're both living in LA at the same time too.
Is he in LA?
Both living in New York, then both now in LA.
There's an opportunity there for you, Zoe.
I don't know. There's some interesting weaving of paths happening. I check him out.
I would be happy to see him.
Yeah, definitely. You should get in touch.
What's he doing in LA?
Also has a PhD.
He's working on a project about telomeres in meditation.
Interesting.
Redundant work, if you ask me.
We have this LMU yoga studies trip to India, and I swore I would never lead it no matter what. And then I got talked into doing it. I mean, right? Chaperoning in India. However, I got talked into doing it last December with a friend, with a colleague. We co-led it, and it was actually really, really wonderful and amazing. And the second week we were at Kaivalyadam, where I've never been.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And so I got to meet Tawaris and say I know Paul, and it's like,
so
should have mentioned Harmony.
So good. Yeah, beautiful.
Have you studied with him a lot?
Yeah, many years.
Okay, I didn't think I realized that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
that was really
you to have
he's
a child.
Beautiful human. Yeah. Best decision I ever made.
You were yelling at him as I woke up this morning.
Yeah, that's a story for another day.
He's a teenager. He's a lot of fun. I love him.
Yeah. Oh, your child. I was like, Tawari?
No, I wasn't yelling at Tawari. I was yelling at my 15-year-old.
Oh, yeah, the 15-year-old. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you with that impression. She wouldn't yell at Tawari G.
I didn't think so.
Unless he was having trouble hearing me, in which case I might raise my voice a little. Will you lead it again? Will you go back?
I don't know. We'll see. I'll get over that one first. I mean, it was wonderful, but it definitely, it's very different than traveling by yourself. And
yeah.
But it was really cool. It was a bunch of the students and their master's students, so grown-ups, had never been there before. And so I was like, I kind of got to experience it all again for the first time. And
The horror.
that was really special.
The horror and the terror.
Yeah.
It's so nice, though. It's really...
We went to nice places, though. We were in Chennai and Pondicherry.
Oh, nice.
Then we flew across the country with 20 people. That was intense.
Yeah, totally.
And then we went to Kaivalya.
Wow.
And then I went to Ajanta and Ellora. Have you ever been there?
No. Where's that?
You should go. There are these amazing caves.
Oh, yeah, up in the mountains. In Lonavala area.
Aurangabad, kind of near Pune.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you see this?
They're Buddhist caves.
Oh.
Yes. Buddhist and Jain and Hindu, but mostly Buddhist. Yeah.
Wow.
One of the best things I've ever done.
Wow. Yeah. I want to go.
Worth the trip. Oh. Yeah.
Next time. There's so many beautiful, amazing things to see in India.
I hadn't been in a while.
It's hard to... I know. I was there in 2023, I think.
Yeah. You visited for Yoga Gives Back, and then you went down to Mysore and
went to Mysore for a day, and then was in Bangalore and a little space outside, and then flew to Calcutta. And it was so nice. It was just amazing to be there with Yoga Gives Back and like seeing all their projects and meeting these kids, and also just like being in India. And it was very spiritual.
It's cool you do that. It was wild seeing you guys there.
Yeah.
It's like, wait.
Zoe.
Worlds collide.
Yeah, it's a beautiful organization, and just to like support India in some way after so many years and so much heritage and culture, and like, I don't know, I think it's nice to give back to the places that we extract wisdom from.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in some way, right? The places, the people.
Yes, for sure.
So it's nice that you're able to take people to the culture too, because, and you probably have this same sense, is I don't know that you really get like what these texts are talking about, or even yoga. Like, what is yoga for? What does it mean? Until you've been to India. And then you're like, oh,
it's for waiting at the post office. That's what yoga is for.
Yeah. No, that's where the real yoga happens, right?
Man.
It's like the patience that you learn, and the chai that you drink, and the like.
I'm gonna be here all day. I better just do the yoga.
I better breathe. Or like also just like the beauty and the freedom, but also like the horror and the dirt and the and it's just all there for you, like everything, and everything really truly means everything, not just like nice, pretty, beautiful things.
Yeah. No, I think that was the cool thing about bringing all these students. And we would play this game. We had this big bus. I've never been in India, like on a big, like we had our own bus. And because there were a lot of us,
that's
and
a death trap.
We sort of play this game of like high-low oddity and kind of we had a microphone and like go around, and it's so your experiences are so high and so low and so odd.
And so odd.
Everyone go around in a circle and describe what's the high point, the low point, the odd point. Yeah,
exactly. Like, and it just you don't get that reading texts or going to a yoga class or and I hadn't been since before COVID, so it was good.
The first thing that I can think of is when I shaved my head in India, and my landlord called the police to see if I was Mujahideen.
Really? When was that?
2008, 2007. And the police came, and they confiscated my passport and examined it, and everyone was very concerned. And I was just like, I just shaved my head, and come on, and I had a beard, and so it looked bad. It did look bad. But like calling the police on your neighbor because they've shaved their head is the odd one that I have for you.
It's good to be in another culture and see.
And have your buttons pushed in that way.
Yeah.
And it just, so many things. So many things
in India happen. And kind of magic in so many ways. Like like just the synchronicity and the kindnesses and also like terrible things too.
Do the high one. Yeah, you're doing the high one now.
Yeah, but like, sometimes like people are ripping you off all the time or like trying to take money from you or get money from you or, taking you on like an excursion that you didn't ask to be on.
And that's what the yoga
and yet
for.
there's so much magic.
There's also magic when you're not in control of everything and, you're just sort of along for the ride.
Yes.
Yeah, it gives you a different perspective, doesn't it?
For sure.
And that's maybe like a reflection also of the Advaita Vedanta kind of perspective.
I think it was really good for me to see that that's all still there. I think, when I first went, there was no internet. There were no phones. Like, Guy drew me a map on a napkin, I think.
Yeah.
And I like walked around Mysore with this map. And,
wow.
if you wanted to go see somebody, you'd knock on their door. You left a note, and then you'd call home from those wonderful boxes.
Yeah, those STD phones.
The STD boxes. Yeah.
Or instead of turning into Superman, you could turn into a sexually transmitted disease. That's
yeah, and
instantaneous.
Remember, like if you needed something fixed, like say you need like your hot water heater fixed or something, you'd have to walk to the phone, like that's like a few blocks away. Get a number from someone. So like ask a neighbor how to get your heater fixed or whatever. Call them from the phone, tell them where you lived, and they'd say, okay, we'll come at this time on this day. And then you have that time that day and like
and you wait.
You just wait.
And it's going to be all day long.
It's going to be all day.
And you better not leave because if they come and you're not there, you're going to be waiting for another
day.
Who knows how long, forever, potentially.
Forever.
And even then, they might not come that day at that time.
Yeah, no, they might not. It might be a holiday.
I remember.
I mean,
I remember Kimberly told me this story that she had some problem in her backyard. I don't know if it was water pumps or a tree had fallen down or something. And she opened up the door and this beautiful man was there. And he said to her, Madam, Shiva backside cleaning? Yes, come on in. We are backside cleaning today.
He meant the back of the house.
And that Shiva had sent him. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Not God.
Not God. God has sent me to clean your backside, madam.
That sounds like a Kimberly story.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Well, we're so thrilled to have you here as our guest, and we'll have to have you back when your new book is released. And in the meantime, people can find the old version and the new version of the Yogavataranam. I don't think I'm saying it right.
Close. Yogavataranam.
Yogavataranam. Say it again.
Yogavataranam.
Yogavataranam.
Yeah. She put the emphasis on the ga, and that helped.
And the
Well, it's more. I was trying to put the emphasis on the yoga. So it's yoga plus avataranam. Avataranam is like avatar.
Yogavataranam.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
You have to pay attention to those long A's.
You do. That's the thing that Kimberly taught me. Is that? That's the one thing I remember.
It's to be chanted 2 beats longer than the short A's.
Did she teach you Sanskrit, Kimberly?
Yeah. I did the Shruti Parampara with Jayashri for years. And then, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 years, maybe it was just 1 year, a whole trip for a couple months. I would just go to Kimberly's house and she would teach me the grammar and how to write and how to do the Devanagari. Yeah. And really emphasized understanding where the tongue went with the word, which I'd never really kind of sat down with.
And in the meantime, if people want to study with you, they can come find you online.
Yeah.
Or in LA.
Yes, we are accepting admissions for our fall cohort here. It is a wonderful program at Loyola Marymount. I will give you that link. Also, I teach an online Sanskrit class through the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies. I do have a website. I don't update it that often. And Ashtanga Yoga Sanskrit. I'm also teaching in Houston a weekend in July that is going to be, I should give you that link too.
Yeah.
It's going to be like Sanskrit, chanting, philosophy, and Mysore in the morning for anybody who also wants that.
Awesome.
I'm mostly retired from teaching yoga, but I
Same.
once in a while come out of retirement.
Same.
Me too, but it's still
Right?
fun. I love it.
It is super fun.
Fun once in a while.
Yeah, we should teach together sometime. For free, probably.
We could put together like a middle, like not an old timers yoga confluence, but like a middle-aged.
Old students.
Ooh, I like it.
Middle-aged timers.
A middle-aged timer. I like it.
Old schoolers, middle schoolers.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Well, it was so beautiful to connect with you again, Zoe. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Hey, if you love this episode, I want you to do something. Please, please, please share it with a friend. And also tag Zoe on Instagram and let us know what resonated with you, what you loved about it. We really love bringing these conversations to a wider community, and also it helps us to expand our reach and let people know that we're out here having these incredible conversations and invite them into our world and into these conversations too. Also, if you're longing to deepen your own practice, not just physically, but in a philosophical way, energetically, looking at how your biofield and your energetic system connects through the body and through the yogic postures, then I would really love to connect with you through one of my upcoming intensives and workshops. I will be in Lisbon and I will be in Faro, Portugal. And also, I will be teaching at the Being Gathering, which is a huge summer festival happening all in Portugal over the next month. So come on in. We start June, at the end of June, and we'll be going all the way through to mid-July. So come to Portugal with me. I would love to connect more with you in person and support you in your practice and going deeper. So until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and continue to find harmony. That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.